Hello everyone and welcome to week 4 of our virtual learning journey. This week we have some really awesome assignments that I'm super excited to share with you. But first I wanted to share the new grading system that we will be following for Miss Sita for the rest of this school year. You will no longer be receiving the traditional grading of 80s, 90s, 100s. You will no longer be getting A's, B's, or C's. What they're doing now is they will be looking at it as a P or an N. The P stands for proficient, and you will receive proficient every week if we see that you are logging on, that you are completing your iStation, and that you are doing all of your assignments. The other option is an N, which stands for not proficient, and you will receive an N if you are not logging on, if you are not uploading your assignments, and if you're not doing them to the highest quality. This is a really important point that I would like to emphasize. We have always, Mrs. Ancheta and I have always had really high expectations of all of you as learners, and we would never, ever, ever expect you to give less than 110% on all of your assignments. And that doesn't change anything. Just because now instead of A, B, or C, we have P or N, that doesn't mean that you can just slack off and decide not to do your assignment to its best quality. If you do begin to turn in assignments that are not of your best work, then we will be reaching out to you and we can give you an alternate assignment. This is the alternate assignment that you will all be receiving in the mail starting this week. It is a 114-page packet called Kids Learn, Getting Ready for 6th Grade. If you scroll through, you will find pages and pages and pages of math, reading, social studies, and some science, right? Some of the stuff may be things that you've never seen before, but you'll still be expected to figure it out using Google or whatever resources you have to get all of this work done. Now, this is great if you get bored over the summer or if you want to flip through and do some practice problems, but I would not want you to have to do all 114 pages of this when you could have just completed your Schoology assignments. Okay, so what we're getting at is this is the alternative assignment if you are unable to log on, if you're logging on but you're not doing it to the best of your ability, you will be having to turn in this packet when you go to register for middle school next school year. So, keeping that in mind, let's go ahead and look at our Schoology assignments and see what we can do to do our best work for this week. So, for this week, for Reading Language Arts, we have 3 assignments to complete. The first is a super fun assignment that I wish we could have been able to do in class. If you remember when we first introduced the book Becoming Naomi Leon, we talked about how at the very end of the book as a class project, we would get to carve our own bar of soap. But just because we're not in class together doesn't mean that we still can engage in a super fun assignment. So, what we'd like you to do is to create a soap carving of any animal, plant, or object that you would like. We just ask that you use only a toothpick, a fork, or a spoon when you're carving into the soap. The soap is really, really soft, so it really doesn't require a lot to carve away at the soap to make the shape that you want. Please, please, please do not use a knife unless you have your parents' supervision and approval. Okay, we do not want anyone getting hurt while making their masterpieces. Okay, so there are some examples. If you get stuck when you're trying to come up with an idea, you can take a look at some of these, or you can even just go on Google and Google soap carvings, soap carving examples, or if you have a specific idea, like maybe you want to do Eeyore, you can put soap carving Eeyore and see what pops up. Here we have a whale. We see a minion in the bottom right hand corner. That's super cute. You're welcome to use any of these ideas. Look up some of your own or come up with an idea of your own, whatever you would like to do. When you're ready to submit, you'll just click on Submit Assignment And where it says upload, you'll want to click on this file, and then you can browse through your computer or your photo library. I'm on an iPad, so this may look different than if you have a computer. If you have a computer, it will pop up a list of files, and you'll have to find it through there. But if you're having trouble with this, you can message and ask for help, or you can just have your parents send the picture through Class Dojo to Mrs. Ancheta, and she'll be able to grade it that way. I look forward to seeing all of your beautiful creations. I actually got to do a soap carving when I was in middle school for an art project that we did, and I did Smurfette from the Smurfs. So I'm super excited to see what you all come up with for your soap carving. Going back to the week 4, you also have a Becoming Naomi Leon quiz. So in a few minutes, I'm actually going to give you a summary of the rest of the book, but this quiz is only up until we finished reading, and they're super easy questions, so we shouldn't have any problems. Like, look at question 2. Naomi has one younger brother and one older sister. True or false? Well, thinking back to the book, I only remember them talking about Owen. I don't remember any mention of an older sister, so we already know what that answer will be. We can scroll down more. What is Skyla's boyfriend's name? Bernardo? No, we know that's Fabiola's husband. Clive? George? Or Chase? Well, I only remember one of those names, so it's pretty likely it's the one that I remember, okay? So these are super simple questions. Just do your best. Don't stress if you don't remember something, or maybe you were absent for one of the days that we went over it. Just do your best, and you will be good to go. The very last thing we have for reading language arts for this week is your iStation. A lot of you are still not completing iStation, and that is a component that depends or determines whether or not you get a P or an N as a grade for the week. And remember, we do not want to get any N's because that would require you working in that workbook. So let's make sure that we're doing our iStation like the district asked, and that you get your quiz and your soap carving done. Before I move on to social studies, I want to go ahead and wrap up Becoming Naomi Leon by giving you a brief summary of the ending. So I want to read a page from page 137 of Becoming Naomi Leon by Pam and Yost Ryan. That kind of does a great job of summarizing everything we had read before we left for spring break. A passel of today's. Mexico paraded outside the cab of Bernardo's truck, but at times the scenery blurred and my mind clouded with all that had happened. The night when Skyla waltzed into baby Beluga, the perfect M of her lips. Me sitting on the floor while she braided my hair. Owen's face when he saw the bike, and my new clothes. My thoughts were also smudged with Thanksgiving Day, teachers' conferences, Children's Hospital, and the sting of Skyla's fury. Now, I was chasing a father who was nothing more than a wisp of smoke floating in the air, someone I didn't know for sure I would ever really touch. So when we left off with Naomi, Graham, and Owen heading to Oaxaca, Mexico with their neighbors, Bernardo and Fabiola, and they were going to look for their father, Santiago Leon. When they get to Oaxaca, they set up baby Beluga in front of Fabiola's sister's house and immediately start looking for Santiago by asking around town and calling everyone named Leon in the phone book. Ultimately, they find out that they really won't know if Santiago is coming to town until the night of the radishes, which is the radish carving competition that a Leon from their family has carved in for over 100 years. Leading up to the competition, the men in Fabiola's family are trying to come up with an idea for their carving. One of the men come into the kitchen while Naomi is putting her soap carvings on a jacaranda tree branch she found on the table, and that's where they get their idea for their own radish carving. They decide to do a large tree branch filled with all different kinds of animals, and to thank Naomi for her idea, they ask her to carve a leon, or a lion, for the very top of their masterpiece. The night of the competition, the men set up the carving, the judges go around display by display, and finally, at the award ceremony, they announced that they got second place. This is the highest honor they had ever received in the competition. While they're celebrating, a man comes to say congratulations, and it turns out that it's Santiago. When he sees Graham and the kids, he panics and runs away. But when Graham, Owen, and Naomi get back to Fabiola's sister's house, he's there waiting and explains he just needed some time to think and prepare. It is a really, really sweet moment when Naomi and Owen get to hug their father for the first time in a really long time. You can tell that Santiago really loves and missed his kids. Naomi gives Santiago the lion she carved and is beyond happy to see how proud he is of her being the leon to carry on the tradition of carving in the Night of the Radishes. He wasn't able to make it to carve in the competition this year because his car broke down and he couldn't make it on time to register. The kids get to spend the next 2 days with their dad, and Santiago is sure to give Graham a letter telling the judge all about Skyla, or Terry Lynn, and how he wants the kids to remain with Graham while also setting up a schedule for him to visit them, either in the summer or over other school breaks. Naomi, Graham, and Owen head back to Lemon Tree because the court hearing is the next day. On the day of the court meeting, Skyla and Clive show up looking very professional. The judge spoke to Skyla first, asking her about why she left the kids and what she's been doing while away. Skyla says that she never wanted to leave the children, but she was getting out of a bad marriage and needed to get money in order to take care of them. She explains that she ran into some trouble with alcohol, but she was getting the help she needed. Next, the judge talked to Graham about her being 69 years old and not being exactly young, but Graham explains that she's in perfect health, and if anything were to ever happen to her, Santiago would be willing to take the children. Finally, the judge wants to hear from the kids. The judge has Naomi come sit with her and says that she really doesn't like separating kids from their moms. She asks if there is any reason why Naomi and Owen shouldn't be with their mother. Remember, Naomi is very, very shy and soft-spoken, so she struggles to find the words to tell the judge. But she hears in her mind her father saying, "Be brave, Naomi Leon." And just like that, a flood comes, and Naomi starts telling the judge everything that had happened from the moment Skyla came to town. She tells him everything from the day that Skyla arrived to when Skyla smacked her, to seeing the alcohol in the back of Clive's truck, and to how Skyla threatened Graham. During her story, Naomi also mentions how Skyla only wanted to take her and not Owen. Because of this, the court grants full guardianship to Graham. This is super exciting because now life can return back to normal. But not only that, they'll have their father in their life as well. At school the next day, Naomi is brave enough to finally show Mr. Marble, the librarian, some of her carvings. And remember, he has that really big, beautiful display case. And he tells her that he'll put them in the display case for open house when all the families come to visit the school. He tells Naomi, "I can already tell you're a different girl since you went to Mexico. Before, you were a mouse, but now you have the countenance of a lioness." And as they walk out, Blanca even notices that Naomi's voice is louder. So, what we learned from this is it took a lot for Naomi to be brave enough to speak up and to tell the judge everything. But after going to Mexico and having these experiences, she was able to grow and get the courage to tell the judge that she belonged with Graham and Owen and that she loved her family the way it was. And that's how I got to stay. So it's a very happy ending. If you have time to read it, they will have it, I know for sure, in the Wiggs School Library next year. So if you want to go back and reread it, it is an amazing story, and there's no way I could have fit everything into just a short summary. The last thing we have on our agenda this week is social studies. And what's really cool about this social studies assignment is that it will stretch over 2 weeks. So you'll find it in folder weeks 4 and 5. When I saw this, I thought it was the most cool thing ever. So during this time, we're literally living history. This is an event that will be in future history books. Just like next year, you'll probably be reading about the American Revolution, you'll be reading about George Washington and the Founding Fathers and how they put together the country, and then later you'll read about the Great Depression. This will eventually make its way in there. They'll talk about COVID-19 and how from 2019 to 2020, the world's literally kind of just paused. Businesses closed, there was a toilet paper shortage. So, in order to take advantage of this time, we're going to be doing a time capsule. And you're doing a paper time capsule. So, there is a PDF attached. This has the instructions for the assignment, and this is where you'll also be submitting your completed packet. But for the packet itself, you click on the PDF. And it opens right here. If you want to print it, there's a little printer in the top right hand corner. And then there's also an arrow above a rectangle in the top right hand corner that will allow you to download it to your computer. I think the easiest thing is if you have a printer to print out these pages. That way you can color, you can fill in the information, you can draw. But the alternative is you can get a journal and you can recreate your own pages. So you can go ahead and write my 2020 COVID-19 time capsule, and you can draw this or another picture that you think resembles COVID-19. Okay, make sure you put your name so we know whose it is. And then you'll go through all 11 pages. This is why we're doing it over 2 weeks. And if at the end of next week, you're working really hard, but you just don't think you're going to finish in 2 weeks, we can extend the deadline another week. That way you'll have 3 weeks to complete your assignment. So you are living through history right now. We're going to take a moment to fill in these pages for your future self to look back on. You're going to start by drawing a people you're social distancing with. Maybe you're distancing with your siblings, your parents, your grandparents, your cousins, your uncle, your aunt, a friend. Whoever you are in the house with is who you'll draw here. Then we want to know about you. We want you to be able to look back and see who was living through this. Okay, so list your favorites, your toy, color, animal, food, etc. How old are you? How tall are you? Who are your best friends? And then we want to know, how are you feeling? What does your face look like? Are you really happy getting to be at home with your family? Are you kind of bored? Maybe you're just kind of meh. Or maybe you're really sad because you miss being able to go out and do fun stuff. Okay, not that you can't do fun stuff in the house, but I mean like Disneyland level fun. Words to describe how I feel. Are you feeling bored, sad, scared, happy, rested? Okay. The 3 things I'm most excited to do when this is over. I personally cannot wait to rebook my trip to Disneyland. I'm so sad that my graduation trip got canceled, but I know that it's much more important that we stay safe by staying home. Okay. Now we have your community. We want you to decorate the house to look like yours. Okay. Where are you staying? Maybe it's not your house. Maybe you're at your grandma's house, or maybe you moved. Maybe you're not even in El Paso anymore. Okay. We just want an idea of where you're staying. And what are you doing to help feel connected and have fun outside? So some people started drawing hearts in their windows. I know another thing that was happening in El Paso is that people were doing bear hunts. And they would tie bears somewhere outside. They would put them on the roof. They would put them in rocking chairs. And as you drove around El Paso, you can try and like spot the bears. It was really cute. So we want to know, how are you connecting with others? This, I think, is super important to realize. You're not stuck at home. You're safe at home. Okay? So what are you doing to pass the time? I know I've been doing a lot of reading, and I've also been doing a lot of puzzles. So maybe I'll draw a book, and then I'll draw a puzzle on the other side. And then your handprints. You can either trace the handprints of everyone living with you, or you can paint your hand and then press it down onto the paper. It's up to you how you do it. I would probably trace just because it's a little less messy, but if you have some finger paints laying around, get creative. This is your time capsule, okay? We want you to upload the pictures for us, but ultimately this is going to be your little keepsake that you can look back on in 2, 5, 10, 50 years, and you can remember this time. Special occasions. We've already passed St. Patrick's Day, Easter. A few of you may have had birthdays, or maybe you had parents or siblings that had birthdays, and we want to know how you celebrated it. Of course, we're not doing the traditional Peter Piper birthday party, and no one really gathered in the parks for a big Easter egg hunt. So what did you do at home to make that day special? Then we want you to write a letter to yourself. You can talk to yourself about what you've been doing to pass the time, or you can write about what your favorite thing of this is, or what you were most scared about, or just anything that you're feeling or doing, you can write about. And then we want you to interview your household. So pick someone that you're staying with and ask them these questions. What has been the biggest change? How many days spent inside? What are you most thankful for? And then TV shows. I'm sure a bunch of you have been watching Netflix or Hulu or whatever it is you have. Favorite food to bake, favorite time of day. And then finally, a letter from your household. So this is where someone that you're staying with can write something to you. Okay, so maybe words of encouragement. Maybe they will tell you something that they've really enjoyed doing with you. It's totally up to whoever it is that's writing you the letter. Okay, so once you finish all of this over the next 2 weeks, you will go ahead and take pictures, and you can either upload it by adding an attachment, just like we did for the soap carving, or you can take pictures of each page and send it to Miss Anchetta through Class Dojo if it's absolutely not working. Make sure you're not saving this until the last day. As of right now, it's due May 1st, but you want to make sure that you're not waiting until May 1st to start, because this is a lot of work. And we don't want you just to scribble in anything. We really want you to take your time and do your best on each of these pages, because like we said, this is a keepsake for you and your family. So you want to make sure that you're doing your best on every single page. So that is all we have for you for this week. Just as a little recap, we have the Naomi Leon soap carving that you'll upload a picture of. We have the Naomi Leon quiz, which is 12 questions, super simple. What I wanted to mention is that we do know question 11 and 12 is the same answer, but if you get one, you get both of them right? So just make sure you put the same answer for both of them. And always remember to do your iStation. That is super important, and it'll help let us know if you're still on track with your reading. That way when you get to 6th grade, they'll know exactly where you're starting off and what they can do to help you improve your reading and your math, because remember, you also have math. And then finally, our social studies packet. So remember to keep working hard. We miss you all so much, and I just wish with all my heart that we could be in the classroom. But remember to stay home and stay safe.